Movies coming out in 2026. Avengers, Spider-Man, Toy Story, what the fuck? Jingle.
Hey, Tablo.
Welcome to Hey Tablo, your favorite podcast. Please share with everyone you know and rate it as high as possible. We are operating on a deficit. It's a new podcast, so we don't have ads and stuff like that yet, do we? We need your help. Please share with friends. Anyways, I'm searching movies that are dropping in 2026. As you know, I'm a huge Epik High fan. Oh yeah, I am Epik High. I'm a huge movie fan. I think I've been studying film even more than film studies majors, if you think about it. Because I've been a fan of film so long, and I've seen so many movies from so many different eras that I think like I was basically in film school. I wanted to be a film director, but I just never ended up doing it because I was too busy being a YouTuber and a rapper. Hopefully, I'll get around to it someday. I mean, if you've studied something for so long, you might as well use it, right? But of all the things that I've studied, like intently and loved and passionately followed, I think film and cinema is like number one. But I've never really used it for anything. I've only used it for like small talk. Oh yeah, that was the greatest movie. Oh yeah, I saw that too. Did you see this one? Oh yeah. You haven't seen this movie? You suck. That's basically what I use all my knowledge that I've built up over decades, and it's such a waste. I'm searching movies dropping in 2026, and let me just say, there's a common thread here. First of all, Avengers Doomsday is coming out, the new Avengers. The guys who made Infinity War and Endgame are coming back, and Robert Downey Jr. is coming back, but not as Iron Man. He's going to be Dr. Doom, the villain. I don't know how they're going to make that work, but ever since they did the multiverse thing, Marvel hasn't been the same. When Tony Stark did the snap, he snapped away the Marvel franchise. Anyways, Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man's coming out. That I kind of want to see. I'm more excited for Spider-Man than Avengers Doomsday. Okay, so Avengers, Spider-Man, Toy Story 5, a new Hunger Games, The Devil Wears Prada 2, the new Dune, the new Minions, the new Shrek, the new Scream, Angry Birds movie, Focker-in-Law, which is Meet the Parents sequel, Jumanji 3. You see a trend here? All sequels or remakes or like a game movie. Wow. Not gonna lie, I am super excited for the new Devil Wears Prada. I love that movie, so I can't wait to see it. But it is kind of crazy that almost every big movie that's coming out is a remake or a sequel or something within a pre-established franchise. We don't see too many original films on this list. Even the sort of original films are like Sense and Sensibility. So like adaptations. Cliffhanger, reboot of an action thriller from like, I think the 90s or something. Almost everything is a remake. It's crazy. As a film lover, I think this is a troubling trend. I understand it because, first of all, people don't go to the theater. They don't go to movie theaters anymore. And they have so many other distractions that are just as great, right? They have shows on Netflix. They have shows on like the 100 other OTT options. By the way, I'm just going to take a survey of the room. How many of those streaming apps are you subscribed to? 4? 5? Wow. You need all of them? Can you text me the passwords? I subscribe in and out of maybe like 3-4 apps. I have Netflix, Crunchyroll.
Or anime?
Yeah.
Gee.
Why? Why are you looking at me weird? I subscribe in and out of those because the shows I like are all on different apps, right? I also have HBO. And it's you know what's crazy? When these streaming options came out, it was supposed to like replace cable. It was supposed to be an option where you could like literally cut the cord and not have to watch TV, right? But now it's become more expensive than any other option before because you can't just have one app. You have to have multiple. And now you can't even share with friends like we used to. It was still not allowed back then either, but they didn't say it directly, so we didn't feel guilty at all. But now they specifically say you can't do that, so we can't really do it. You know how many people were using one person's Netflix? Have I ever told you guys this story? Okay, so my bandmate Epik High's Two Cuts, he lost rock paper scissors and had to sign up for Netflix about 10 years ago, maybe. It's been a decade, I think. Anyways, he signed up for it, and because he lost rock paper scissors, we were all using that account, Mithra and me. And then our engineer started using it, and then a bunch of people we don't know. Okay? Like every day we would go in and there would be a new name. You know how you can have like multiple names? And I think it's like the engineer told some friend. I told like 3 people. And then it got like out of control. So Two Cuts got mad and he just stopped the subscription, right? Because he's like, this is ridiculous. What's crazy is the engineer called me and he calls me and he's like, did Two Cuts cancel Netflix? And I'm like, you have to ask him. It's his account, right? All these people calling me, like, what happened to this account, right? It's crazy. It's like they're entitled to it. The kicker here is the engineer eventually texts Two Cuts, like, Netflix is not working. And Two Cuts responded, I'll get on it right now. Like, he owes it to him, right? But we were all living off of this one Netflix account. And then Netflix announced that they frown upon this kind of sharing. So we can't do that anymore. So we all made separate accounts. I have an account now, like a family account that Haru, Hejong, and I use. And I let one other person use this account, my manager, right? Because he's always, waiting for me. And I don't want him to like subscribe. So I was like, just use our account. You're basically family anyways. So there's an account. His name is Donghyun. So it's Dong, right? So there's Tablo, Haru, Hejong, and Dong, right? Recently, I was on a plane to perform somewhere, and I was with my manager. I go in, and there's another name, Yo. There's a Yo, right? So I asked my manager, who's this? And my manager's like, I have no idea. And I was like, did you tell anyone about this account? And he's like, no. That means either Haru or my wife told someone. And it became this like mystery series. I asked Haru, she didn't tell anyone. So it's definitely my wife, but I can't ask her because I'm afraid she might yell at me. So I can't ask her. I'm assuming it's her sister, and I'm worried because her sister can easily give it to her husband, and they have 2 kids. So we're fucked again. Officially, I'm not sharing this account. It's not my fault if other people break the the rules, right? It's not my fault. Anyways, to get back on point, this is how much we love content. And because we have so many options, we don't go to the movie theater anymore. And as someone who not only loves film, I love the film going aspect of film. I love the experience of going to a movie theater. Everyone here knows I will quite often go to see the same movie like 3 nights in a row if I like it. I saw Wicked 3 times. I saw Wicked 2 only once. But my point is, I will go to the movie theater for this because for me, a great film, of course, is great on any screen. But for me, it's less about the size of the screen. The reason why I go to a movie theater is because the whole experience of waiting in line and getting popcorn, getting snacks, getting to your seat and like seeing trailers, anticipating the movie, and then the movie starts and you laugh at the same beats. You sometimes cry on the same beats, and you're sharing a space with a bunch of people that you don't know. You're all strangers, but you're somehow able to like laugh together and cry together. And that, for me, is such a beautiful experience. I really, really enjoyed that experience. And you can't get that if you're watching on your bed, like with a smartphone. So I am personally invested in movie theaters surviving this thing, surviving this inevitable doom. I want good films to come out, and I want blockbusters to keep coming out, and I want tent poles to do well so that people crowd into the movie theaters and they have a reason to keep going, because I need a place to keep going. I even considered starting an independent movie theater. The only reason why I didn't do it is it was almost certain that it was going to go bankrupt. I talked about my love for film, my totally non-financial, pure love for film, but I decided not to make a movie theater because it was definitely going to fail. It's because movie theaters need these tent poles, these films that will draw people, that they keep going to pre-established IP, pre-established franchises, right? The reason why is because if you have, like, for example, if you make a Pokemon movie and you already have like a Pokemon fandom to market to, there's just that much more potential for a lot of people to come to the movie theater together, right? To build an event out of it. And that's why we get like Minecraft. That's why we get every single game on earth becoming a movie, to the point where now we have an Angry Birds movie, which would not happen in any other decade. Like if we were back in the 90s, in one year during the 90s, we had Titanic, As Good as It Gets, Good Will Hunting, and all these films in the same year. All original content. Of course, Titanic was an actual event, but sadly, it was not an adaptation. But what I mean is original films and great films that were lasting. There were so many of them, and they were enough to draw crowds, right? But now we don't, like, studios, of course, don't want to risk putting out an original film and people just not showing up. So they will do like infinite numbers of Avengers movies. They will remake movies that were loved, like Devil Wears Prada. Who knows? They could make Titanic too. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know how they're going to do it. The Ghosts, or something terribly fucked up, something terribly wrong and problematic. Even if they did that, what I'm saying is we've gotten to the point where I would not be surprised. Hey, Titanic 2 is coming out. Oh, that makes sense. That's what someone will say. And this Angry Birds movie just blew my mind, because now we're going to make iPhone movies, like iPhone game movies, like early iPad game movies. Because what's next? Angry Birds movie, and then we're going to have the toilet paper roll movie. It seems far-fetched, right? You're laughing right now, but we had the Emoji film. We literally had movies about emojis. Was it good? I didn't see it, but I have nothing against it. If it was great, that's great. But what I'm saying is we've gone to these lengths now. Like, we're here. We're making Angry Birds movies. And I'm not kidding. We're going to get the toilet paper movie. What other weird iPhone games were there? Like in the early days?
Is it the bubble wrap?
Yeah, we're going to have that too. The bubble wrap. We're going to have Scrabble, the movie. Yeah, Fruit Ninja movie is 100. I'm actually surprised we don't have the Fruit Ninja. Wait, hold on. Are they making? Because that's so much better than an Angry Birds movie. Because I don't even know how they're going to get around the fact that Angry Birds, animal cruelty, how are they going to get around this? Because the whole purpose of the game was to throw a bird using a giant sling at buildings. And killing other animals with birds. I don't know how they're going to get around that. Are they making a Fruit Ninjas movie? I'm scared. I'm really scared, but I would not be surprised. Are they making a Fruit Ninjas movie? Yes. Holy shit.
What? No.
What we know, New Line Cinema acquired the film rights to Fruit Ninja. I'm not kidding. Oh my God. The film was intended as a live-action family comedy produced by Vincent Films in partnership with the game's developer. Writers J.P. Lavin and Chad Damiani were attached to the project. Imagine you grew up, like, let's say you grew up New Hampshire. You were born and raised in New Hampshire. You grew up and you remember going to the movies and watching Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut. Weird example, and seeing movies like Terminator 2, seeing Good Will Hunting, seeing The Godfather, and you're like, this is for me. I'm going to become a screenwriter. So you leave home and you go to New York, and let's say you go to film school and you study screenwriting. You write great student film, and it does really well. And now it's your chance to show the world what you have. And they give you Fruit Ninja. JP and Chad here. I don't know what their upbringing was, but I'm certain they never imagined that they would be attached to Fruit Ninja. But it's happening. Wow. I told you it's not surprising, but I understand the financial reason for this. And I run a business as well. So I understand that studios don't want to take a risk. I also understand the cultural aspect where you do want to bring in as many people as possible to the movie theater to have a shared experience, because that's what makes films great. Back in the day when, for example, this was before I was born, by the way. When I mention these films, please do not. Like Jaws. That was way before I was born. Okay? Star Wars, way before I was born. Some of my team here, like, they think I'm way older than I am. Anyways, these films that I just mentioned came out way before I was born. Way before. And when those movies came out, the reason why they became blockbusters and more like a cultural phenomenon was because everyone watched it. Everyone shared in that experience. And you could go to school and you could talk about Darth Vader. You could talk about Jaws. You could talk about Indiana Jones. And these characters basically became something that connected us to each other, something that we could talk about, something that we could mimic, something that we could debate, something that we could wear and carry. And all of that became something that connected people and created communities. So the good side of making these franchise films is that you bring some of those people together. So I understand the cultural upside of it. The sad thing, obviously, is that original films aren't being made. it's going to be really hard to not only get the movie at a theater. I mean, that's like the finish line. Getting a movie funded is becoming impossible. I recently, like a couple months ago, like Park Chan-wook, great director. Park Chan-wook, there was an article saying that he was finding it really hard to get to secure funding for his next film, which is crazy. These directors are franchises in themselves, right? Their name is a franchise, but even they find it hard to get funding. I'm sure Christopher Nolan, if he didn't have the Batman trilogy, I'm not sure he would have been able to secure funding for his other films. Luckily, his other films were all great, so he's still able to create original films. But I think Christopher Nolan, Bong Joon-ho, Park Chan-wook, David Fincher, Quentin Tarantino. I can count the number of directors that can still maybe get their original films funded. Martin Scorsese, but I probably won't be able to name 20 or 30. So we're not going to have much original content, which is really sad because all of these movies coming out in 2026, and some of these are going to do great, and I'm excited for them. I'm not like hating on this. I love Devil Wears Prada, like I mentioned. I really want to see Fokker in Law. I loved Meet the Parents. I like Dune. I like The Hunger Games. I love Spider-Man, Avengers. All of these movies except Shrek.
No.
You like Shrek? Oh, there's a Shrek fan here. The thing I have against Shrek, it has nothing to do with the characters. There's a lot of horses in this movie, right?
There's a donkey.
There's a donkey, right? A donkey is basically a horse. No? Wait, is this a cancelable offense? Am I not allowed to say donkeys are basically horses? Really? I can't? But it's sort of a horse, right? It's like a half horse. Wait, am I making it worse? Okay. I'm sorry to the donkey community. I apologize to the donkey community. I am so sorry. But that's why I can't watch Shrek. There's a horse-like character, and he's too prominent, like on the posters and stuff. I can't read books with horses on it. As you can see, Avengers has no horses. There was only one moment during Avengers Endgame where like I was like, oh, do I have to step out? The character Valkyrie flies through the air like with a flying horse, like a Pegasus. Yeah, and a Pegasus is basically a horse, right? Right? A horse with wings. So Spider-Man has absolutely no horses. Angry Birds definitely has no horses. Fokker-in-Law, I haven't seen a horse there. Devil Wears Prada, unless Miranda makes a huge entrance on a horse, I'm fine with Devil Wears Prada too. Wait, what was I talking about? Okay, I'm excited for every movie except Shrek. You can see that I'm not hating on these franchise movies. I like them. I will go to the movie theater. Anything that'll take me to the movie theater, I'll go. But we have to remember that all these beloved franchises started somewhere at some time as original films with risk. Like a studio took a risk on a movie called Meet the Parents, which was like a romantic comedy, right? Someone took a huge risk on the first Toy Story. Steve Jobs got fired from his own company, Apple, went to visit George Lucas, who had this company that was Pixar, but was just sort of sitting there and going to waste. Steve Jobs bought that from George Lucas, gave them the freedom to create animations, and it became Pixar, and they created Toy Story, right? But that was a huge risk. Like the amount of money he spent, I don't even, like, it's like a number I can't even fathom. I think it's like 100 million or something like that. Anyway, spent a shit ton of money, could have gone bankrupt, but Toy Story turned out well. And now in 2026, we're able to have Toy Story 5 and be excited for it. And we have all these fans that can come together because of Toy Story. We have a community around Toy Story. Someone took a huge risk on Shrek. Like, a major studio took a huge risk on a donkey movie. And now we have a like a legit, beloved franchise. And now we can have a Shrek sequel. It's probably like, what's the Shrek now? Which Shrek is coming out? Six? There are six of these donkey movies, and they all do well because someone took a risk a long time ago on a donkey. And Avengers, Spider-Man, I mean, kind of not. I mean, someone took a risk a long time ago making these comics, right? But I'm saying all of these films started as original films that had huge risk, and someone took that risk and it paid off. And years later, we have generations who are in love with this. One of the best things about these franchise films is now, because Hollywood is forced to go back as far as possible now because they've run out of franchises to mine. They're going back to movies from like the 80s and 90s. You know this Cliffhanger movie that's coming out? This was a Sylvester Stallone movie from like the 90s. And this movie, I'm basically like a walking encyclopedia of film. Like I've seen every movie on earth except Shrek. And also that horse movie, War Horse. War Horse. Yeah. I saw Haru watching that, and I just I like left the house.
Can you explain this? Because people who are listening to you might not actually realize.
I think I have a slight fear of horses.
Slight.
And it's not, if you're confused by my allergy to my horse allergy, I think it's less about just the animal, but what the animal symbolizes. I can't watch Westerns because of horses. There's a lot of horses in Westerns. I also can't watch any like period piece, even movies with like ancient Rome. I can't watch because there are horses. Like if I see a horse on a cover of a book, I immediately know what the book's going to be about. There's going to be like a lot of nature and no skyscrapers. And I don't know why, but it just turns me off. Anyways, one of the best things about these franchise films, because they're going so far back, this Cliffhanger movie was a movie that didn't even really do that well in the 90s. I'm pretty sure it's not even rated very well. Let me check. Because I remember a lot of reviewers and critics at the time saying that the movie was terrible. I didn't mind it, but Cliffhanger, Rotten Tomatoes. Let's see here. Yeah, 68%. As I mentioned in a different episode, I saw this movie because all the critics were saying it was bad. I was like, I'm going to go see Cliffhanger. And all my friends are like, okay, I'm going to go see something else. You go by yourself. And I was like, okay. And I watched Cliffhanger. 68%. The audience rating is 53%. Half the people hated it. But they're remaking it now in 2026 because they have run out of IP to mine, right? But one good thing about this is that because they go so far back now, generations that have nothing in common and nothing to talk about can go sit in the same space and cheer for the same movie. That is exactly what happened with Spider-Man and Avengers. The whole MCU thing I was really grateful to Marvel at the time because my daughter, who was born in 2010, and me, who's much older, we're like 2 generation names apart. No, 3. I'm sort of a millennial. Like how a donkey is a horse, kind of. I am basically a millennial. I'm like right between Generation X and Generation Millennial. What's after Millennial? Gen Alpha, right? How does Gen Alpha? Let's just, for the sake of the argument, let's just say I'm Gen X, right? There's Millennial, Z. There's like 3 generations apart. But the 2 of us could sit in a movie theater eating popcorn and cheering for the same heroes we loved, right? She's experiencing it for the first time, but she's watching Iron Man and loving that character. And I remember seeing Iron Man in comic books. So it allows dads and daughters, moms and sons. It allows different generations to enjoy the same thing, which is a beautiful thing. And I'm all for that. So if you need to IP mine from way back in the past, be my guest. If you make Goodfellas 2, if you make Godfather 4, it'll probably be a bad decision, but I'll still go to see it because I can share that with, my daughter's generation. So that's a great thing. But the fact that we're not getting original films is really sad. And some of these directors a lot of directors are probably retiring right now, but silently. The saddest thing is the directors we have never heard the names of. That could have been Stanley Kubrick. That could have been a David Fincher. That could have been a Christopher Nolan. But we will never be able to hear their names or see their films because they couldn't get their big shot funded. And they end up being attached to Fruit Ninja. That's what I'm worried about. One of the films in recent memory that became a huge franchise, even though it was a completely original work, was John Wick. That was an anomaly. It was masterfully done, but it was still a huge risk. A lot of people think it came from a comic book because it was such a big hit, but it was the first film was the first work. And they built an entire world around it, and now we're getting like spin-offs, right? We had Ballerina last year, and we'll probably have more John Wick spin-offs. But it is still possible, I guess, to create a franchise and build a world out of an original IP. Another huge example, maybe even bigger, is Squid Game. Completely original work, right? The first season. I don't think there was a comic book or anything. And now it's become something that's going to have like a Squid Game USA, Squid Game 1988, all these spin-offs. There's a whole franchise built around it. And probably 10, 20 years later, we're going to get Squid Game 17, John Wick spin-off 29. But to get a John Wick, to get a Squid Game, there were probably a few thousand projects that didn't work out and tens of thousands of projects that never left the page because they just didn't have hope. And that's sad because I really, 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 really care about these characters. I really like new characters coming out. Like people look at pop culture and kind of look down on it, right? For some reason, everyone agrees that classical music is great art. Going to the opera, great art, like great experience. But they will kind of look down on popular characters and popular lore and popular culture. Yet, they will maybe go to the opera once in 10 years. And they will go to the movie theater or watch these on apps like all the time and fall in love with them all the time. And I believe that these characters and these worlds and these original stories are really important for mankind because it brings us together. It gives us something to build communities around. I don't know. I don't know what to do.
Have you heard of hobby horsing?
Hobby horsing?
Yeah.
Wait, you've been thinking about my horse problem this whole time. My team has not been paying attention to anything I've been saying because of the horse thing. What is hobby horsing? Okay, hobby horsing is a sport and hobby where participants ride toy hobby horses. Oh, a stick with a horse head. But it's a stick horse. It's hobby horse. Oh, it's like the Fortnite thing, right? Yeah, the horse, the stick horse. Never mind. So, yeah, even this is giving me nightmares. Maybe more so. Yeah, I just something about horses. I don't know. My daughter though loves horses. That's the thing. That's the ironic thing. she did horse riding for a while, and anytime we would go somewhere and there would be like a horse carriage, she's like, I need to go on. And my wife is very aware of my horse issue. So she's like, if it's triggering, you can take a break. But I wanted to overcome it for my daughter, so I did. So I did horse riding with her. And I was fine with that, but there's this emotional distance between me and the horse, even when he's carrying me. It began a long time ago. Like it began when I first fell in love with books, when I fell in love with literature. I was reading and I was fine with certain books, like Catcher in the Rye. I was fine all the way through. And then I think I was reading like the Bronte sisters books. I'm a lit major, so I can't avoid certain periods of literature. And when I got to that period, um, fucking horses everywhere. So you're having a great time reading, and then a horse will pop up, and I was like, I can't, I can't, I can't go on. And that's sort of when I realized I have a serious horse problem. I don't hate them. I see a horse and I recognize that it's a magnificent animal. If God exists, it's because these horses. I mean, what I mean is seeing a horse makes me think that there must be a God because these are magnificent creatures. I understand that. And I can agree that they are beautiful. And also they're very helpful, right? I've I've heard that like during war and stuff, um, long time ago, like a horse will come and rescue you and stuff. Or is that a Saint Bernard? I don't know.
Bruno.
But what I'm saying is what I just want to say to the horse community and and the donkey community is that I respect your animal. I love the animal. I just I just have an unexplainable aversion to them, like culturally, like literature or in films, in music. I won't listen to any song that mentions horses. When Old Town Road came out, it was a very difficult time for me. That whole time in pop culture, horses were popping up everywhere because it was a thing. It was a difficult time. Even Psy's Gangnam Style. I'm friends with Psy, and the Gangnam Style dance was basically like riding a horse, and even that was difficult for me. So I'm not kidding here. I think people think that I'm just trying to be funny, but if I've mentioned this so many times, you need to understand that it's a real thing. If any of you are dealing with what I'm dealing with, if you're listening right now and you have the same weird, unexplainable aversion to horses on books or in films, please leave a comment because we need to gather it and build a community. Anyways, this happens in music too. Do you know that? You know why there's suddenly a resurgence of like 2000s music all over the place? There's more music from like the early 2000s and late 90s on socials and on TikTok than new songs. One of the reasons is because DJs, when they play music, they want to be able to play something that everyone in the crowd enjoys. But if they play a new song, there's a chance that 70% of the crowd has never heard that song. But if they play a Britney Spears song, it is almost guaranteed that everyone in there knows that song. And they'll go crazy. My theory is that, I'm not sure if this is a fact, but this is how I think. I think that radio DJs or club DJs, just a lot of people are using recognizable songs from the 2000s and from the 90s or even far back as the 80s, so that people can have a communal experience in music. It feels like it's definitely a thing because you notice that we don't have a lot of new stars compared to before. You go to the movie theater and it's like the biggest film right now is always like a DiCaprio movie or like a Matt Damon movie. These are all stars from the 90s and they're still carrying movies because they're the only actors that are recognizable by enough people. So same thing with music, I think. The top tours are still like Coldplay, Pink, these artists from like the 90s to early 2000s. They're still holding the biggest tours because they're the most recognizable names. And I think it's the same. It's sort of along the lines of what I was talking about with franchise films is people are gathering around the most recognizable things that'll take them back to the past, that'll also like allow them to enjoy an event, father, son, father, daughter, parent, kid, different generations coming together. They want that communal experience. Like everybody longs for a communal experience, and the smartphone age has gone the exact opposite route. It has divided all of us, where we are watching the same thing, but we're all watching it in separate spaces and we don't really talk. And also, we have so many options that it is possible for 10 songs to be popular during the same month, but the people who like one or two of those songs have never heard of the other 8. It's entirely possible for a song to be a hit, but only in a certain area or a certain age group. Back in the day, if there was a hit song, for example, I Will Always Love You, Whitney Houston, when that song came out, literally everyone in the world was listening to that song. That's why Let It Go was such a huge deal, because it had been so long since we had a song that everyone in the world was listening to and like singing along to and doing covers of. It became like a cultural phenomenon, and it sort of brought everyone together in a moment. But the smartphone like algorithm, I think algorithms are the biggest problem, but algorithms have started like just feeding us exactly what we want by, it has personalized everything to the point where there's nothing communal anymore. Everyone is experiencing a different movie. Everyone is experiencing a different song all at the same time. So it's hard to bring people together. I don't know how to feel about it. I feel like the only solution here, if I may be bold enough to throw out a solution, a lot of artists around me, young artists and young musicians, when they ask me for advice on how to build out a career and how to make it, how they will play something for me or they will show me something, it's really hard to give them optimistic advice or to say something optimistic, because as the franchising of films and of music, I mean, it's going to continue. And with AI being in the mix, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. If creating original content is this difficult, it's really hard to say something optimistic to them. I still do, but I can't guarantee that they'll have a shot. If record labels are more interested in putting out the next album of an artist from like the 2000s than they are of some independent artists from now, they're not going to have an easy shot. So it's hard for me to be totally optimistic. At the same time, there is a good side to IP mining from the past. It does bring people together. So it's a conundrum. Like there's no right answer here. It's possible that the only solution to fix all of this and bring everyone together in a happy way is the new Fruit Ninja movie. JD and Chad. Let's go. See you next week, but if I don't get some likes, if you don't share this episode, if you don't rate it, there might not be a next week. So we need you to share these episodes. Thank you. See you next week.
Hey, Tablo.